Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime Blue Exorcist. And I really enjoyed this anime. It's really had a nice combination, again, kind of similar to The Devil's a Part-Timer, of real world and supernatural world. And again, delivered pretty well on its premise. It only kind of gets a little bit weird towards the end in that I think things get a little bit rushed to kind of get to a kind of climax. And it kind of works. I don't really have a problem with the developments. It's just, it kind of feels a little bit rushed to get there. But that doesn't overall truly harm the anime in any way, in my opinion. So, this follows Rin and his brother Yukio. And we find out that they are the offspring of Satan. And that, of course, this do a lot of different kind of issues because at first they're like going through, and we see that Rin has features that are kind of a little bit different than regular people. I mean, he's kind of impulsive. We see him trying to get a job, and he's pretty much succeeded, and then kind of failed because he was trying to help out this little girl, because this demon that him and the little girl could see had taken her scarf. And then, of course, we get this other demon that possesses this other boy and pretty much tries to take him to Satan and take him to the demon world and bring Satan into this one so he can conquer the other ones. And this leads to a fight in the monastery where they live at, and, of course, their adoptive father, Shiro, dies because he is possessed by Satan and sacrifices himself to stop Satan from kind of opening up this gate to the demon world and let demons all run free. And of course, Rin's full demonic power was sealed away in this demon slaying sword, so he unsheaths it, kind of gets himself awakened and destroys the gate there. And then of course this leads him to doing the vow of kicking Satan's ass, because he, at the funeral, this guy, Mephisto, comes up and says, "We're pretty much here to kill you." He's like, "Screw that, I want to be an exorcist and kick Satan's ass." It's like, okay, that's pretty cool. And it kind of like goes from there and going and enrolling him in this place, the True Cross Academy, which Mephisto is the director of, and kind of like doing regular school stuff while teaching to be an exorcist. And we find out that Yukio is already a full-fledged exorcist and is actually a teacher, and seeing the kind of like interactions between Rin and Yukio and the kind of different kind of roles, and seeing that Yukio is being tasked with looking over Rin to make sure that his like demonic powers don't completely consume him, because it's pretty dangerous. It's like, do we kill him because he's a demon, or at least close enough to a demon, or do we let him kind of like go on and see what kind of powers he has? Because in the beginning, even before this, we'd seen this Night of the Blue Flames where Satan tried to come into the world even more fully, and like a lot of exorcists were killed. And we see that like Satan kind of is dealt with in a kind of more interesting way in this anime. Granted, he's still kind of like over the top and all that, but we find out later on that Rin and Yukio's mother, like, I don't know, she kind of like fell in love with Satan because she was like, her and these other exorcists were tasked with killing him, exorcising him, putting him back into the demon world. And she's like, oh, you kind of want to touch things, but you can't because your presence is too powerful for a body to hold. And then, of course, he possesses her because she allows it. And I don't know how it works, but they have the kids. And it kind of brings an interesting thing of, if Satan was doing this to kind of have a more perfect vessel for him to actually be able to effectively move around in the human world. And that's the kind of stuff that we get at the end, and it's not dealt with as enough as I would have liked. Because the rest of the series is like Rin and Yukio kind of like learning to be an exorcist and all that, and teaching it, and kind of getting into cool hijinks with like the rest of the class. And each character is dealt with in a pretty good way, except for one character that like talks through a puppet. Now, I don't know if that was just to, I don't know if they didn't do anything on purpose, or if the whole purpose was to have this background character that you didn't do anything with as a kind of in-joke. I don't know, because they're actually doing a second season, which is coming out this year, well, it's come out, and we're just gonna have to wait for the dub, but I'm very interested to see if they actually do something with this character, or if it's kind of a joke character, because all the other ones are dealt with, and they kind of have their own kind of episodes, and we get into their backstories, and they're done pretty well. And I kind of really like delving into each character and kind of seeing what makes them tick, what makes them want to be exorcists, how they deal with their relationship with Ren and Yukio, and then kind of like dovetailing into the climax. And we get to the climax, and how I can explain it this way, and this is explaining it badly, but Grandpa Pope tries to use a nuke. What I mean by that is, a few episodes from the end, we find out about Yukio and Ren's grandfather, father of their mother, who was the one guy that we saw in the beginning, who was kind of frazzled by the flames but not killed, was put away by the True Cross because he essentially was going to burn his daughter at the stake as a witch for being possessed by Satan. And, of course, she was saved a little bit to give birth and die later on, giving birth to Yukio and Rin. And then he gets Yukio to his side, pretty much takes out the rest of the True Cross people that are the heads of the Exorcists, promotes Yukio to the Paladin, the highest level of Exorcist, which Rin wants to be, and then they get in their heads because the grandpa also gets himself up to Pope, elected to Pope, and then wants to use this Messiah bomb to completely destroy the world of demons. And what kind of changes up what's going on is that demons are not all bad. And actually in this anime, it's kind of noticed that they've fused what I see as demon lore and fairy lore, because some demons become guardian deities, and of course the designs of certain things, like when Satan possesses Yukio because they needed to make a giant gate, so they killed a lot of demons for demon blood, took Rin's blood and Yukio's blood, which awakens Yukio's latent demon powers and fully transforms him, which allows Satan to possess his body. And of course there's this giant portal now to the demon realm. Yukio is possessed by Satan, and of course the bomb's put in and it doesn't do anything. And it sounds bad, and it's not as bad watching it, and it wouldn't be that bad if there took more logical steps to get there, because it's really condensed, and that is the only main concern, is that it's so condensed in that a couple of episodes, they meet their grandpa, he becomes Pope, and he unleashes his plan to bomb the demon world. And then, of course, this works into Satan's plans to, one, get a vessel, and two, attempt to merge the human and demon realms. And I liked seeing, the fight scene and seeing actually, the powers used of Yukio with his full demon powers unleashed, and Rin trying to get his brother back. And, of course, they work it out, and then we see that Satan essentially becomes a UFO, because there was two kind of portals that were made, and he takes control of one and starts flying around like a UFO, shooting laser beams that unleash demons. It gets kind of weird. I don't mind the weirdness because it works within the framework of the supernatural and the mundane, and seeing the supernatural completely and utterly break through the mundane at that point, and then seeing Ren and Yukio trying to figure out how to deal with this, and of course uniting themselves, unleashing their power, and using the full power of the demon sword to take out the giant portal and take out Satan, and then kind of get everything back to normal. Yukio getting back to his previous held position, Ren still kind of trying to get to Exorcist level and eventually get to Paladin, and seeing Mephisto and seeing what his kind of deal is, because Mephisto's a demon and he really likes the human world. And I just think he's more of a interesting kind of playful character. Granted, deadly kind of playful, but that's the thing, you never know what you're getting with him. He's kind of deep, and I kind of want to see more of him and the characters, and kind of see this flow more. It's just, it was like really condensed at the end, and a lot of stuff happened, and you're like left thinking, wow, that escalated quickly, but they were still able to taper it off and be like, okay, it's left at a nice natural endpoint, and I didn't know that they were going to be making a season 2, and then I'm like, hey, that's already started, so now I'm just going to wait for the dub. And I'm like, yeah. And I overall think they did a good job of presenting the trials and tribulations of like a high school, and kind of adding to that the supernatural of the Exorcist, and doing it in a way that did not sacrifice like believability of the world that they had created, keeping a nice consistent tone, and also creating characters that you're interested in and wanting to learn more about. And if you're into that kind of stuff with like characters, kind of supernatural kind of vibe, even kind of just like interesting takes on high school kind of stuff, I would highly recommend watching this anime. Especially since it's on Netflix. I don't know when it's going to be going off. And since they've gotten the first season, I hope eventually they get the second season when that's all finished and they can do all that with that. So, those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.